The result of this match was pretty well expected, to be fair. Warriors have actually been coming up against some lesser opponents. Bunnies on the slide. You would have expected a good bounce back from them and maybe a little bit of a regression back to the mean for the Warriors. But really, there was a lot going on in this game. There was so many head-high tackles from the Bunnies in this first portion of the game. And then AFB gets one head-high tackle to Cam Murray and he's sin bin. And it just goes from there. And it's very, very frustrating how that can work. How, like, if 4 or 5 of them start to happen, head highs. Yes, no one got injured. There was no like crazy big hits, but they all got whacked in the head. And really, you think after 3 or 4 that there'd at least be a warning, at least be something there, and then it happens once for the Warriors and they go off. Frustrating at the start there. The other frustrating thing with this game is obviously the weather. So torrential rain. When you have a lot of players in this game, that's very upsetting. Thirdly, Damien Cook on the bench. What the hell is going on? It absolutely killed my squad. It made it annoying, and I was like, oh, he's just not going to score well now because he's going to need attacking stats. He got attacking stats, but it still wasn't enough in the minutes that he played, obviously in that 63 minutes there. But yeah, a lot of average in this game, but we'll kick off with the positives now with Tohu Harris at 63. So this was definitely his type of game. Obviously, plenty of work through the middle. No missed tackles from 51 made. Incredible stuff. One offload, one error, and which is right at the end of the game, and then the one penalty as well. So yeah, awesome work from Tohu there at 63. Exactly what we needed for those that were holding in, hoping that he would come back to full health. And I did say in this game, no matter what, I thought it was going to be a little bit closer than what they've been playing recently, and his defensive stats, his work rate, his base stats would go up. And that's exactly what happened there as well. If anyone knows Jackson Ford, the 61 for him, 51 tackles, 1 miss. Where was that when the majority of us owned him? A couple of guys I know do own him still, and we're able to play him in their side this week. And to have Tohu Harris and Ford in this game is a big win, especially when we find out, obviously this game, but also the next, how many low scores there actually were. And for me personally, having a bunch in this game, a few underwhelming plays, obviously, to then watch the next game, was just hoping that it wouldn't go absolutely gangbusters. And there was one good score with Harry Grant, obviously, but then some low ones around. So if you're sitting there with a bunch of sort of 30s and stuff in your team, the majority of people have at least 1 or 2 of those guys, whether it's Cook, whether it's Sorensen, whether it's Fisher Harris, whether it's Jesse Ramian, Chance Klukstar, these types of players here, Jack Cogger. There's a lot of them in the 30s this week, which we'll get to in this video here. I'm on tour again. I'm on tour this weekend, so in Queensland, and yeah, my family's place. So a little different backdrop as well for those that are watching along on YouTube. Thank you for being here. Cam Murray, 55 in his 58 minutes. So didn't have to play massive minutes here. And I'm glad that he got held off from playing the huge minutes, obviously with them winning pretty comfortably there in the end. Got a nice try, pretty easy on that front. Still missing a lot of tackles, so only getting 29 in his base of tackles there, and then had 2 penalties as well. And I think they said he's 3 times more penalised in his team than anyone else. So I think it was up to 17 or 18, and the next best was about that 6 mark. So pretty crazy on that front for Cam. Wade Egan thankfully got through a full game without getting concussed, which is lovely. Cody Walker, the 46, didn't have to do a lot. Couple of, one nice try assist there, a couple of nice left side raids. That awesome kick to Johnson, that the deft touch on those little chip kicks across the those sideways chip kicks are very impressive. So I heard someone mention a few weeks ago, bring back the banana. Where's the banana these days? We need to see one of those kicks. It has been a while. Colin Matangi, 45. For those that have grabbed him, you're really hoping he doesn't make Origin because he's gone 40 odd, and then if he makes Origin, that would absolutely kill you, especially with him being out in round 20 as well. So it was a big risk and it hasn't paid off yet. It could get real bad or it could get pretty decent if he doesn't make Origin for sure. And obviously could come out next week and go really well. Walker really enjoying his role in the middle. Totola with 43. So now I think you're getting him 1 more week out of him next week. You'll make a tiny bit more cash and then likely selling him in round 20 for one of those top guns. If you can get a Payne Haas and that type of player, then happy days there. Johnson, the 42 with the 2 tries. So for those that do own him, you're getting benefit. He actually scored more than a lot of the some of the top players there, especially. So you take that for Johnson. He's made a decent amount of money for you since you've grabbed him. What about Jaime Sele with his 42? So he's actually got up to 476, and he'll go up that tiny bit more, I believe, after this week. I think his break-even is pretty close to that. But yeah, awesome PPM there. And that 180 meters gain in 38 minutes is awesome. For Noah Blake there, 40 in his 58 with that sin bin. It was not his exact game, and he didn't really look himself when he came back on. First stint was nice, was 30 odd in 34 minutes before the sin bin, and then kind of come back on and picked up 15 in that last 20, 3 minutes or something like that. So, yeah, fine, I suppose, with him. And you're hoping for a lot more at that price point. I did see a few people grab him this week. I own him in Supercoach, and that was my only sort of painful Supercoach moment so far this week. Damien Cook, yeah, they got the try assist early. He also got 2 missed tackles off Adam Fanua-Blake, where he kind of bumped him and they end up jumping in the tackle. So he lost 4 in that front. End up with an error as well. So ran the ball a little bit, but no tackle breaks, no offloads. Pretty yucky with those tackle numbers as well, 32, given they had the ball plenty and were scoring tries. So a frustrating night for Cookie owners. If he doesn't make Origin next week, great. If he does, there's a high chance that I do sell him because he's going to, it's 48 and a 38 now. He's going to lose a bit of cash from those two. And looks like I probably need some help in round 20. So maybe Cookie's the guy rather than Robson or Turpin. We'll work that out. Hopefully Robson does play today and we'll go from there. But yeah, that's that one. Chican 38. Metcalf the 34 was solid. Had a couple of runs there where he could have almost snuck through and ran the length, but some last-ditch efforts from the defense there. Chansey, I think he had a really, really good game. You obviously see there 0 negatives, no missed tackles, no errors, no penalties there. But to the 118 meters, they didn't have their hands on the ball as much as they usually do, and yeah, a lot of times, as I said, South had the ball plenty, scoring a lot of tries. Very different to previous games for Chance. And this is a game that is definitely in his wheelhouse for sure. But we've seen a lot of the top players this week. We've seen Teddy last week. There's so many guys that will get you a Ponga 17. There's some low scores in there, and 31 is not the worst. He said the exact same thing with Sean Johnson here, and thankfully he's basically owned by everyone in the top 1,000, top 5,000 there. So Johnson with the 30 doesn't hurt us that much. It does hurt you if you decide to captain him over Heinze or anyone else, Jack DeBell and these types of players that could have been a little bit safer. But as soon as you saw it was a wet, it was just like, oh, yuck. And you knew obviously against South as well, it's going to make it pretty tough for him to score super well. Blake Taft got a nice try at the end, but hardly ran the footy. 14 meters run is pretty disgusting for a fullback. So yeah, for those that said they were burnt by him last year, it's kind of happening again. I need one good score out of him next week when they play the Dogs. That's what we're here for. It's what we bought him for. So a little bit of cash made here. We're hoping for sort of around that 30 average. He's got 27 and 22. Look, it's not the worst. As I said, Ponga got 17 last week. So yeah, next week is what we've got him for. And they started Havili over Cookie. Not good. Shaq Mitchell 15, and then Watini Zalesniak to 10 after his 90 last week. So definitely was not his night. And sometimes, obviously these wet weather games are very, very tough to kind of do your best a lot of the time and be similar to how you've been playing and the quality of footy you've been playing over the recent weeks. All right, Storm up 14-0 against the Panthers, end up at 16 all, and then Panthers ran away with it. They basically scored 34 unanswered, apart from that 2 in the penalty goal. And Isaac Tungo was the man to really dominate for the Panthers. You even just watching the highlights there, go back and just watch his tries, you'll just see just the immense power this man has, bumping blokes off. It was similar to that of Penasini last week, but he did it more than once. So 13 tackle breaks for him, a couple of line breaks, 2 tries, a try assist, in absolutely everything with a turnover tackle as well to go along with it all. So I haven't seen a 13 tackle break game in a little while. That was a belter from Tungo, and obviously has a bye next week, but he's going to be closer to 600 after these last few really, really good games, and he's going to be one of those center keepers for sure. Coming back from injury, he's been even better than he was beforehand. So once the Panthers are such a good team, aren't they? So their outside backs are going to be gold in the back half of the year, especially when they are out of buys. So very, very exciting if you're looking at Isaac Tungo in around 20 potentially there. Nelson, what do you guys think of the try? A little bit of an interesting one. Obviously, kind of was getting hit out. Not sure about the double movement. Like you look at it and go, oh, okay, he's got a hand, potentially has a hand on him, but yeah, it's just like he obviously went for the second crack at it, and then it kind of was losing it as well. So there was 2 things to kind of stop it being a try. But for anyone who owns him a 60, and that's 73 minutes, he seems just puts himself in a good position to be able to score tries. Speaking of someone that can do that as well, Harry Grant with his charge down off Cogger to go to run that down and score a try. Didn't get to do a lot else other than make tackles in this one, but 59 with the scoring that's happening this week, especially, you very much take that and run with it. The 59 there for Harry, and it's clearly still the best hooker on the way home. Munster 52. So a good score without setting up anything or scoring anything himself. Good tackle numbers, good run numbers, and just a 4 in negative. So yeah, a lot better for Munster and where he's at. Obviously, he'll be one of those keepers in the back end, but there are better halves in my opinion. Johnson wasn't as good in this one, but Moses, Johnson, Cleary, Hines, All of these type of guys are before Munster at this point, and yeah, are more expensive, but yeah, Munster having Origin coming up, potentially resting after that. Yeah, it's an interesting one there for sure. Crichton with a 50 worked out well for anyone who owns him. I know there's a couple of people I've seen out there that do have him as that dual position guy kicking goals, so that worked well. You got Jerome Luai, 45. Yep, solid. What about Trent? Big Trent Liero. He still ended up with a lot of negatives there. He had 5, neg 13 across the park, but 46 tackles, a lot higher than he has been, and got the turnover tackle and the tackle bust as well. So, yeah, where was the 45s when I needed you? This was what he's been scoring for a long time, and then 3 weeks in a row, he just decided to shit the bed, and then he's back at it. But very frustrating. He still lose plenty of cash, so for those that held him, obviously the 45 is better than a lot of people, but yeah, the cash losses and the buy next week meant he was a clear sell, obviously. Liam Martin got a try there. Still, these are the types of scores he can get, even with a try. If he doesn't get that, he's sitting in the mid 30s there, and is just okay. And there's a reason. There are reasons why he's at 504k. You saw his games last year; he's getting high 20s with 80 minutes and stuff, and these are in his game. So just be prepared that he'll get 67 and look like the best player in the game, and then he'll get 35 or something like that. So that's that. To'o try at the end was good for anyone who owns him. Fisher Harris, the 40 in this game, he came back on fairly late and picked up about 12 extra points with about a point a minute at the end, which was needed from him. It's about what you expect. That 40, you'll make some cash on him now, which is good. Needed, that's for sure. What about Isaiah Yeo, the 39 in his front? Just on Fisher Harris, sorry. They have the bye next week, so if you're going to yeet him, do that. If you do want to hold him as like a 17 to 18 demand, that would be okay as well. If you need a mid in round 20, then look at keeping him for that as well. Isaiah Yeo, 39, so a low score for him, first time in a while, and he's going to get that a little bit cheaper for those that are looking at him in round 20. That's really the only positive there. He'll be back to some of his best. Wasn't to be in this one. Didn't need him as much. Runs and tackles were down, so that's that. Sorensen, big news here is the shoulder injury. Doesn't seem like it's going to be too bad. With the bye next week, it's likely that you do sell him anyway, just considering all the hard work that he's done. Unless you want someone for round 20 and we get some news that he's not too bad, then that would be cool. Jack Cogger got a try assist in there, and 21 tackles, 400 kick meters. Not much else really. So 37 in this one. Finally back down to earth, a little bit closer to what we expected him to score after the couple of 70s. So there's that. But he's done an amazing job for you, and I think that'll be his last game. You would have hoped it went out on a bang, but he got the bangs the last 2 weeks there for sure. All right, let's get to some of the lows. Jerome Hughes, 33 for those who have been looking at him or have had him the last bunch of weeks. He's been really, really good, but back to a lower one. Hosking came off the bench, so actually scored pretty well for 23 minutes with 31. But he's definitely a sell, guys, I'd say there. Both these teams come into a buy, so you want to be keepers only. All the rest of the guys can be sold, that's for sure, unless you need them for round 20, and you can sell from there. Dylan Edwards is 29, so he's been very, very disappointing on a fantasy front, but still in the wing fullback position. It's very, very tough, so I don't know if you can sell him, but I can understand why people would, considering a lot bought him at about a 750 mark, and he just kind of just fell off a cliff, and it's very, very upsetting, especially with the quality that he was dishing out at the beginning of the year. It sounds like he's scoring a lot better with Cleary when Panthers is dominating, but they're still winning. They're still doing well. So, it's a strange one with Edwards. I think he's a hold, but he'll be close to that 600k after this week. So, really, from there, it'd be hard to sell him because that only means he has to average 45 to kind of make you a tad of money there. So, that's that. Taruva was low. Welchie was low. Meany was 16. Pretty disgusting. I did see a couple of people actually tried to loop him and put him in 5. So very impressive to be able to do that. He had a bit of a shocker with 4 missed tackles and 2 errors. And then Pichy off the bench. Warbrick got hurt. 1 point in 49 minutes is pretty yuck. And that's really all we have to say for those 2 games. We have 3 today. I'll be watching them nice and closely. And I can't wait. I ended up trading in, for those that are following along at home, Trent Liero went to Valence Tafari in the end. I probably, in hindsight, because I made the trade pretty late in that Bunnies game, thinking that I am likely to trade Cook. I maybe could have traded Cook out, who's going to be missing round 20, for another guy missing round 20 in Timoko. So pray with me that Timoko only goes 40 or below and doesn't go nuclear, and Val goes well and keeps his spot. Bennett sounded pretty happy with how Val's been playing. He's improving a lot, and that right side seemed pretty strong. And I like him next to Osako there. It's a pretty good combination with Osako's speed and Val's power. Will be cool. So that's where I'm going there, and then I still will be bringing IPAP, trading him in for Lemuelu at this point, and then see what happens with Robson with his hamstring stuff later this afternoon, and go from there. Hope you enjoyed that, guys. See you later.